Donna Kincheloe has a Doctor of Nursing practice in organizational and systems leadership. She loves to help educate, encourage, and equip others to find and maintain peace in life. A spiritual care researcher and Christian author, she writes a monthly inspirational blog and newsletter. Dr. Donna's nursing career spanned 44 years as a bedside nurse, educator, and mentor. She's in the process of creating courses for new nurses to provide a pathway for success. Her first self-published book, I Never Walk the Halls Alone, touched many. Dr. Donna uses personal stories to subtly show God's creative interventions. Dr. Donna's life is a testimony of how God and a career in nursing turned pain to peace. Donna is convinced that the broken life God gave her made her who she is today.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Christian Readers community. My name is Faith Jiga and I'm so excited, to do this unique episode. I'm excited for you who's listening, excited for myself, and also excited for my guest. Welcome to the show, Dr. Donna Kincheloe.
Thank you so much, Faith. I appreciate being here.
Me too. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to say this before we start. So, Dr. Donna is coming for the second time. And, during our first interview, I enjoyed it so much that even after it was published, I had to go back to listen to it again. But there was actually something Dr. Donna said to me towards the end of our interview. She said, Faith, please let me know if you need any help. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. I'll have that in mind. And a few months later, I emailed Dr. Donna requesting for this series. And I was so excited that she gave me a positive reply. So I guess what I just want to say is, when you are coming on this show, just be careful the offer you make to me because I will definitely collect. I like collecting offers. You're welcome once again, Dr. Donna. I'm so excited to have you here.
All I want, Miss Faith, is to help your audience have an understanding of things that have happened with my life and how God and our faith actually makes a difference.
Wow. And yeah, for those who actually, would like to listen to that one, who are yet to listen to it, who are just listening to us for the first time, especially, you can go to our previously published episode titled Get Out of That Narcissistic Relationship, a Life Just Like Mine with Dr. Donna Kincheloe. There you hear Dr. Donna sharing stories from her own personal experiences, and she would be doing just that in this series that we are about to discuss. And just like you heard in the previous episode I did with her, we will be doing a series on narcissism. Yes, and this is going to be a series of education, but blended with love and encouragement. This is not meant or designed to condemn you, but is to encourage you to seek help as soon as possible. And I pray that as you listen to this, that you'd be encouraged, you feel better, you know that you're not alone, and you see someone who has gone through this situation, who has experienced what you are probably experiencing, and who came out of it successfully and is now telling you that you can do it. You can do it. So God bless you. Thank you so much, everyone. And with that, we'll be diving straight to our topic for this section. So in this section, we'll be doing an overview of origin, causes, and behavioral patterns. With that, I'll go to my first question for you, Dr. Donna. Explain to us how narcissism was introduced and over time how it has evolved.
Well, Faith, many people remember the story from the Roman poet Ovid about a mythological character whose name was Narcissus. He was so in love with his own beauty, he stared at his own reflection in a pool until he died. Then, in 1898, a British physician described self-love and self-absorption as pathological. meaning it wasn't normal. In 1968, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, which is a book called the DSM, identified a narcissistic personality disorder. And their definition was a condition where a person displays a need for admiration. They have an inflated self-image and a cold-hearted lack of empathy to other people. Psychologists and researchers who have studied personality theory found narcissistic tendencies to be a part of normal childhood development.
Wow. Okay, so if narcissistic tendencies are part of normal childhood development, what is the progression?
They find that about the age of 8 years old, a child will exhibit some narcissistic tendencies, and they can increase some during adolescence, but usually they are gone by the time you've become an adult.
How is narcissistic personality disorder defined and diagnosed, and what characteristics may a person exhibit?
It's very, very difficult when you think about personality disorders. It usually requires a clinical evaluation by professionals, and there are self-report questionnaires that are available to identify behaviors and help convince a person to seek help. But the problem is they don't know or believe that they have a problem. A narcissistic person is someone who brags about everything, seeks attention, is consumed with self-adoration, displays a sense of self-importance, is consistently arrogant, and the hardest part for people in their lives, they are not able to be empathetic with others. They expect you to acknowledge them, and they believe that the world revolves around them. In the event that you try to give them constructive criticism, they don't want criticism of any level, and they can become aggressive and vengeful.
Wow. And do you think over time have researchers and psychologists and human behavioral researchers discovered the root cause of these unhealthy tendencies?
Well, as I say, the causes, when you look at the research, there's not an awful lot of really significant research. Personality disturbances are so difficult because, as you know, look at all the people in your life that have personalities. There's a huge array of different kinds of people. So one of the first things they do is they look at physical components that could contribute to these behaviors. And what do you think about? Well, we could say there are physical conditions that can be responsible for changing your personality. Things like a traumatic brain injury, having a stroke, having a brain tumor, having cancer. Some of these things are physical, irreversible scenarios, and they may end up with personality swings or personality issues. But none of the physical situations seem to contribute to the narcissistic personality disorder. And there's a limited number of really large studies that focus on the cause of this disorder. But here is what you find. Theories lean toward relationship problems in a person's early childhood development. Think about it. If you have a marvelous role model, if you have healthy parenting and your parents are empathetic and realistic, and they help the child develop self-awareness that is healthy and also help promote social skills, well, that's a different kind of family system. But what they're finding there are two groups of childhood scenarios, which we're all familiar with. Perhaps your child or a child is abandoned or terribly neglected. These children may develop narcissistic tendencies, which are unhealthy, but at the time they may be an effective defense mechanism to cope with their anxiety and internal conflict. Then on the other end of the spectrum, you can have parents that give kids a consistent diet of, wow, are you the best? You get praise and admiration. And sometimes that gives that child the thought that they deserve to receive such accolades all through their life, all through adulthood, from everybody. But few studies actually say it's a genetic thing. However, when you think about it, if you are raised by narcissistic people, you may have a tendency to act out because you're emotionally starved and neglected. And some of these dear people with narcissistic tendencies have terrible rage.
This is actually shocking, hearing that narcissism is generic. I'm so surprised. I think this is my first time hearing this, because I never knew that behavioral patterns could also be generic before now. Wow. Okay, no problems. Let's move on to my...
But the studies have said they can't really say there's a possibility, but again, the research isn't strong to say that it's hereditary or say that you got it genetically from your family. There's no markers. There's no way to see that or test that. That's just a theory that they think about. But the biggest thing that they look at is there is a link between abandoned, neglected children and children who are given everything and never had any boundaries set in their raising.
Oh my.
I know.
It's like a two-edged sword, On the other end, you see this person exhibiting some narcissistic tendencies because they were neglected, during childhood. And on the other spectrum, just like you earlier explained, the parents gave them everything, and they still exhibit the same tendency, the same unhealthy tendency. Like it's I don't know what to say. So how do we find balance in this? Before I go to my next basic question I have for you, how do we find balance in this?
How do we find balance? Well, one of the things that is most important for us, because narcissistic behavior is so on the rise in our world, if we can help identify what the red flags truly are, we can help people recognize, and we can find out, tell me about your life. If you have someone who is so involved with themselves and they aren't good at relationships, there's a root cause for that. And sometimes you have the difference between a difficult person and a narcissistic person. But sometimes if we have the ability to say, I see that this person's having a problem with relationships, and I see that I'm not making a difference in your life. Years ago, I did a lecture on having an emotional bank account. Have you, Faith, ever heard that concept?
No.
Okay. Everybody has a bank account, I'm sure, or has some way to have some money that you spend it and you save it and you try, as you say, to balance it out. When you have people in your life that give you positive deposits into your emotional bank account, those are people who care about you, they support you, they're there for you no matter what. Those are the people that when you know you're going to work with them, you go, I'm going to have a great day because I'm working with Lizzie. And then you look at the schedule and go, oh man, I got to work with her. I think I feel a sickness coming in. I don't want to go to work and work with her. And then you ask yourself, why would you not want to go to work and work with that person? Because they're constantly taking withdrawals out of your emotional bank. They might be a drama queen. They may be a trauma drama that everything is about me and I'm selfish and I want you to do for me, but I'm not doing a thing for you. And when you finally get home after you've had a day's work with someone who is constantly taking emotional, they're going to make you bankrupt emotionally.
Oh, wow.
And they take withdrawals from you. That is so hard on you as a person. So when you say, how do you balance it? In our life, we have to be certain that we have people in our life that give us positive deposits. And when you know someone is constantly withdrawing from your emotional, spiritual, and mental account, sometimes you have to stop the relationship for your own health.
Wow. As you were talking, I could just see how I could relate this with our financial bank accounts.
Yeah.
It's just like you cannot only withdraw. You have to deposit to be able to withdraw. And at some point you're gonna empty your bank account and there will be nothing for you to withdraw from. And yeah, I could really see how this can relate emotionally to our lives.
Think about a bank. When you go into a bank, you know that there are cameras, you know that there are
Okay.
security systems, but you know that there are robbers.
Yeah.
And if a robber comes, they are able to use that camera. They have the ability to identify the robber. And they have
Okay.
the ability to protect your account.
Oh. Now this is interesting. Okay.
Yes, because this is why when you know what the narcissistic people actually do and how they present, you have a sensitivity camera antenna to help secure your peace of mind and your contentment. And when you realize that they are narcissistic, one of the key things you have to realize, they're not able to care for you. It's an inability.
Oh, wow. Oh.
I know. It's so crazy, amazing, but that's the greatest part about knowledge, Faith. When we know, that gives us the ability to see things as they really are and to trust our own judgments.
Okay. Now, how do I even put this? Okay, so as an adult, what manifestations throw up these red flags?
For adults, one of the saddest things, they are terrible with social interaction and relationships. They cannot maintain family or work relationships without being that problem person. They demand special treatment. They, as I said, hate evaluations. They're going to reject their constructive criticism, even if you're trying to help them be better at their job. They don't want you telling them anything because they think they're great. They can display cruel and bitter treatment to their peers. They have a tendency to lie, and they can get very angry even when it just doesn't make sense that they're so mad. And when you study about your narcissistic personalities, an amazing thing is they come off like they're very, very secure, and truly inside they have this internal conflict and they're very insecure, but they would never show you that.
Wow. Okay. Now, when you started, telling us how to identify these red flags, say for example, I'm in a relationship with someone whom, all the, flags, all the behaviors or the manifestations you mentioned, all are in my checkbox checked, and I see these things, but all this while I've been maybe living in denial,
Yes.
and or telling myself that it's my fault, because one of the things you've mentioned is that these people, um they make you feel like there's nothing wrong with them, that they're secured when they are not. So how do you come out? How do you tell yourself that really, like, how do you tell yourself the truth that really I think my spouse or my father, my mother, my brother is narcissistic? When and how do you approach this reality?
It's very difficult, Faith, especially when you are close to that person. But usually, to try to get them into some kind of treatment or self-awareness, they may lash out at you with even bringing it up. I often think that sometimes it's better for someone outside the family tree to try to deal with this. But the greatest thing you have to realize is the guilt that you're trying to throw off of you is very difficult, especially if you are Christian. We have a tendency as women and a tendency as Christian people to do, as you say, feel as though we may be responsible. When you see patterns of behavior, when you see consistency, the difference between someone difficult and someone who's narcissistic, if I was difficult and you were my friend and you saw me carrying on like I thought the world belonged, to me, or I wouldn't take criticism from someone, but I was your friend and you approached me and you laid it out and said, Donna, you really need to realize that when people tell you things you're doing wrong, it's only to help you improve. Now, if you would come to me and say such a thing, if I was your friend and I was just a difficult person, I might listen and I might change. But if you came to me and I was narcissistic, I would chew your head off, girl. It would not be pretty, because you don't tell me what you're telling me.
Yeah, I can imagine, right? I can imagine someone walking up to me and saying, Faith, I think you're narcissistic. I know I'm definitely not going to take kind to that.
And sometimes there's subtle ways, Faith. If someone likes to read, maybe an article on it, or a story about it, or a book. Sometimes it's subtle if you can help them. But again, as I said before, these adults, it's a challenge to get them into help, because you've got to realize if this behavior started when they were younger, it may be the only personality behavior they know.
Wow.
This is all they've ever done. You can't change a zebra to a leopard. You cannot change people. And we want to. We have a standard stick that we want to measure everybody by, that says you're kind and you're loving and you're honest and you don't like confusion. And yet, guess what? Not everybody has been raised by the Waltons and John Boy. And I don't know if you've ever seen that old show about this healthy family. It's an amazing thing. So we don't know where people are from, and we don't know, except when we're that close to them. When you are that close, Faith, and you know these things, it's going to be a red flag for you to protect your bank account from a narcissistic robber.
Wow.
Does that make sense? Without guilt. Do you think the bank feels guilty having a security system? No. And we shouldn't either. Because when we are aware, we don't hate these people. We may despise their choices and their behavior. But if we can help, yeah, we will. We will. But it's hard to get them into treatment. In the event you do, usually it's a relative or a friend who, again, guess what? Recognizes the symptoms, recognizes the issues. Because these abnormal behaviors usually cause a lot of stress, and a lot of people won't have a relationship with these people at all. It's just too stressful.
It is. I agree with you. Dr. Donna, I think you would agree with me that the line between a difficult person and a narcissistic person is blurred.
And a lot of it, Faith, depends upon your communication skills and your ability to be honest. I taught a Beth Moore study years ago. I will never forget that night. I was being the facilitator for King David. Everybody knows the story of King David. King David and his great sin with Bathsheba and all these things that he did. And yet God said he was a man after his own heart. Well, I had a mixed group of women, older and younger, and I said to them, in the event I started going out on my dear husband, Alan, and I went to bars and I was sleeping around and I was doing things I shouldn't do, what would you do? Now, what do you think they said, Faith? What do you think the older women said? It's not my business.
What?
It is not my business. If you're running around on your husband, I would do nothing. I would say nothing. It is not my business.
What? Are you serious? My goodness.
The older women. Now listen, Faith. Imagine the older women were raised with a you don't get involved rule. In that generation, in their 70s and 80s, they would not have come and done anything. Now, a friend of mine that is also a nurse, she told me exactly what she would do. She said, Donna, I'd come after you. I'd chase you down. I'd beat your... Okay. Because you see, a lot of people don't like conflict. If you saw problems in me, would you feel, if you and I had been friends for years, or you had seen my behaviors, how many people do you think in your life would actually approach someone with these tendencies? Would they know what to say? What would you say to me, Faith? I'm a selfish, arrogant person. People can't stand me, and you know it. What would you say to me?
Wow. I really wouldn't know how to approach you.
And you see, that's it. So even though people might be narcissistic, knowing what the patterns are, knowing what the behaviors are, in a lot of ways, people don't know what to say. And so they say nothing at all. Even if this person was difficult, even if this person would go into therapy or would want to have a life change, a lot of times they are like repellents. I don't know if you ever used bug spray, but when you're gardening and you put your bug spray on, it's a repellent. You want the bugs off of you. A lot of people will just avoid these people. You bug them too much.
Oh my.
So their behaviors are like a repellent. But if you can get them in to have some help, each person is unique, and the focus of the treatment may be to help them curtail conflict. It might be their workplace that sends them to counseling. Work sometimes has counseling, especially in the hospital. They want you to have your mental capacity, so they have free counseling for hospital employees. And if you are having problems with relationships at work, your work might demand that you go.
Oh. Now I'm going to ask you two questions.
Sure.
One for a narcissistic person and one for someone living with someone with narcissistic personality disorder. I'll start with the person living with someone with a narcissistic disorder. Now, so all this while, I've been living with someone with narcissistic personality disorder, and I thought there was something wrong with me.
Yeah, they love you to feel that way, Faith.
Yes.
A lot of times that's their whole goal. Let me make you think you're crazy.
Yeah.
That's coming up in another session. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, we'll definitely deal with that. But for someone who is listening to this first one, of course, we'll delve deeply in subsequent episodes, subsequent sections. For someone who is like, oh, I think everything we've discussed here, these are characteristics of my spouse or of my, this person I've been living with. And I thought there was something wrong with me all this while. What would you advise this person to do?
One of the most important things that we have to do when you are aware of narcissistic behavior is take a look at the patterns. Is it a consistent thing? Is this person someone who's able to love you? Is this person someone who is able to care for you? Is this person someone who's experienced a lot of trauma in their life? And it actually may be a grief response and not narcissism. It's easy to label somebody, but I am a big believer in knowing people's stories. If someone does not know how to treat other people, why is that? When I first married my sweet husband that I love, when you first get married, things get a little weird. And I said to him one day, well,
I didn't know that.
He was, I don't know, I can't even say how long he's been married. Oh, golly, he'll kill me. I think it's 10 years. He knows, I don't. But it was a second marriage for both of us.
Wow.
And at one point, I actually had to say to him, honey, if you could treat me about with about a half as much kindness as you do your best friend, I'd really feel great.
Wow.
Now, was he narcissistic? Absolutely not. But I was willing to say, you know what? Sometimes your tone of voice and the way you talk, you kind of, and did it matter? Yeah. Did he change? Yeah. And that's the difference. Yeah. It's easy to label somebody, but it's also really, really good for us to take the responsibility to communicate, to say the right things, to find out if there's something going on that we don't know about. If they have a heartache that they're not sharing, or they're having a grief situation that they're not sharing and they're acting out, that's a different thing. But if it is consistent, and I think that's the main word, Faith, these attributes always, you're always about yourself. If I don't feel good, you feel worse.
Wow.
And if you call me and you don't say, hey, Donna, how are you doing? Are you having a good day? And I pick up the phone and you go, oh, I need you to do blah, 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 blah. And you don't even say hello. You don't even say hello. Okay. And you do that every time. And it's all about you. All about you. That, the other thing too, Faith, when we know someone has narcissistic tendencies, our expectations for them loving us and being kind and compassionate, and we know who they are. It's like this. I worked as a neuro-intensive care nurse many years ago at a university hospital, and I took care of people who had fractures of the neck. And they were quadriplegic or paraplegic, and they could not move. Now, I would hope, and they would hope, that they'd be able to walk. But they're never going to walk again.
Oh, my.
That is unrealistic expectation in the biggest sense. When you know someone is narcissistic, you're hoping for them to be kind and loving and relational and communicative is just as unrealistic as you wanting a paralyzed man to walk.
Wow.
And that gives you freedom. Faith, that gives you freedom.
Oh,
Because
I would think it would make the person sad rather.
Once you know in
About
your heart, you lower your expectation, and then you say things like this. Well, she complains about herself all the time. She only talks about herself, but at least she's consistent. that becomes their good quality. You're expecting the same thing because you're going to get the same thing all the time because they aren't able. They're not able.
Oh my. Based on all we've, talked about, everything you've said, if there's one thing I've learned is that people with narcissistic personality disorder, they are, if there's one major thing about them is they are in denial. Yes. They do not know or accept that they have that personality disorder. And maybe someone who exhibits this manifestation you've mentioned is like, oh my gosh, I think this is what I've been doing. Am I narcissistic? What do I do? Wow, have I been living in denial? Is this the reason why my relationships don't last? What do you have to say to such person listening to us right now?
And I do believe, Faith, just as you said, that there are some, because you see, it's just like any other thing that we had as far as our personalities. There are different levels. And maybe there is someone who will be able to change. Narcissism is not cookie cutter.
Yeah.
They don't have all those symptoms all the time. There is no absolute. There is no drug therapy. They may be anxious. They may be depressed themselves. They may be on medicines for those, but there is absolutely no pharmaceutical medication for these dear people. Trying to have relationship, trying to have that hope, trying to have a peaceful life. Again, you just nailed it, Faith. If they will listen and get it in their mind that maybe something could help them have better relationships, because that's it. It's all about relationships.
Wow, relationships. Now let's bring in the God factor here before we go for the day. Tell us, how can we bring in the God factor in this situation, both for someone living with persons with narcissistic personality disorder and those exhibiting such unhealthy behaviors?
I think it goes back to, Faith, realizing how special you are. When you have been with someone who is narcissistic, they tear you down and you forget the God-given principles God loves you. There's only one you. He made you for a purpose. And one of the greatest things to know is that He did not put you here on earth to be abused in any way. And in another session, you'll hear this again. If you consider God and Jesus Christ, His Son, and you look at how they were here on earth and behaved, Jesus never abused anybody, emotionally, verbally, spiritually. He did not. He did make you for a purpose. There's scripture that says the work that He's already planned for you. If a narcissistic relationship is preventing you from the ministry God has given you, you really need to pray. Definitely pray. Surround yourself with Christian sisters. I believe in the power of prayer. And ask the Holy Spirit to give you guidance. And you can pray for these narcissistic people, because when you really have an understanding of this may have happened because you were abandoned as a child, and you may be who you are, and this is a horrible, horrible personality disorder that's creating stress for everyone around you. And you can pray for them, because the minute that you can feel sorry for where they are in their life, you don't get angry anymore. You don't take it personal anymore. Do you agree with that, Faith?
I do. Wow. So this is very, very encouraging, especially to mothers, fathers who are seeing, manifestations of narcissistic personality disorder in their child, and probably have been saying, oh, it's my fault because of the way I brought up my child. And they're probably feeling guilty, saying, okay, this is my fault, how I wish I did better with him or with her. What do you have to say to these parents?
I truly believe with all of my heart that we all have known people who were abused and neglected, and they became unbelievable, loving people. I believe with all my heart there are people that were doted over who became loving and marvelous, compassionate people. We cannot, as parents, take full responsibility of the things that happen to our children. Sometimes the children like to play the blame game and blame the parents. We cannot blame ourselves. And why is that? Because when you reach a certain age and you are able to make your decisions, and you're able to drive and go to the bank, and you can work, and some of these things are choices. And as a parent, maybe you had a hard time. Maybe you had to work 2 or 3 jobs just to put food in your children's mouths. This is not about a blame game at all. It's about, guess what? If your child is an adult and has issues, and you know it, and they still will respect you some and listen to you, at least now you know that there's help. They can get help. But we can't live our children's lives. We cannot. And we cannot carry the burden of whatever choices our children made, because they're adults. I can't live my son's life. He can't live mine. It's as simple as that. This is not meant to be a blame game. And what I want you all to remember is this. The research is skinny. Do you know what that means? We don't have huge numbers of people in any of these studies. When you are a researcher, and when they do research on television and you look down below the advertisement and it says, 1,000 people. 1,000 people isn't very many people in the world.
Yeah.
These studies on narcissistic personality are not huge studies that you can actually generalize. That's why they call them theory. Because a lot of it, you can't stand and say, this is exactly what happened. We can trace your childhood, and now this is why you are who you are. No, it's not big enough to stand on the research. It's a theory. They think that these tendencies could come there. They're kind of streamlining it. Faith, if you were narcissistic and I wanted to do a research study on you, would you want to do it?
No. You know what I say? If you approach me, I'll be like, you're crazy.
I know. I'm not narcissistic. You're stupid, not smart. So again, the only thing is, once we have the greatest part of knowing this stuff and knowing what people's behaviors, the response that we have to their behavior, and if they make you churn inside. I don't like to churn. I want to have peace in my heart. I want to have contentment in my life. And I always say this when I taught students, if you take your fist and you bring it close to your heart, that's your peace and contentment, and that's a gift that God gave you. Now, if God gave you a gift, who deserves it? It's yours. God gave you peace and contentment, and the only time it leaves you is when you give it away. A narcissistic person does not deserve your God-given gift of peace and contentment. Keep it.
Keep it. Like we said earlier, this episode or this series is not designed to, put a blame game or to make you feel guilty, but rather to help you to know what areas to help you. And some parents listening right now might be like, easier said than done. I can't stop thinking it's my fault. This is my child we are talking about. If you're having that thought in your mind now, of course we believe it's easier said than done, but Dr. Donna will be sharing more of her stories, more of her experience in subsequent episode. So I'd really encourage you to listen, and I do believe that these episodes, they're eye openers. So I do believe that they would help you come out of whatever guilt you're carrying about your child. Wow, Dr. Donna, this has seriously been a wonderful conversation with you. I really enjoyed this a lot, and I'm so grateful we did this. I wish we could talk more, but we're going to continue in the next episode. And for those who are wondering what's coming up next, we will be talking relationship reality check. There will be exploring toxic or healthy relationship, and we'll also be doing that from God's perspective, how the God factor can come in, and how we should know when we are in a toxic or healthy relationship. Oh my God, I can't really wait for this next section, really, Dr. Donna.
Yeah, it's all God. The only reason you do anything is to help other people. And if we can help one, we've done our job.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Donna. Before we go, I'd like you to lead us in a closing prayer.
Heavenly Father, Faith and I and everyone listening, we are so grateful to you. You have been the greatest father and role model that we could ever have. We ask God that those people who suffer with narcissistic personality disorder may find a way to improve their relationships. And for those who live with dear ones that are suffering from this, we just pray that you give them and guide them with the proper actions to take. Most of all, Father, please let us keep our peace and our contentment that you give us. Let us always know that everything comes from your hand. and you will help us if we call out to you. So help us in our times of trouble. We'll continue to write your words on our heart, and we love you so much. We just ask you, oh God, to bless this and all the listeners, and Faith and her wonderful director. We love you, Lord. You are so good. In Jesus' name we ask. Amen.
Amen. Wow, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Donna. And thank you everyone for listening. I appreciate this a lot, and I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. If you did, reach out to someone with this, share with them. And Dr. Donna, I think at this point I'm going to ask you to share your email just in case someone would like to reach out to you before we go.
Sure. My email is statnotes, STATNOTES, 2005 at yahoo.com.
Okay, take that again.
Statnotes, STATNOTES, 2005 at yahoo.com.
Thank you so much. So if you have any questions, please reach out to Dr. Donna. And if you have something you'd like us to discuss on this episode, also reach out to her and ask, oh, Dr. Donna, would you be interested to discuss this? I think this might be related to what to this series. And yes, Dr. Donna will definitely tackle that. She is actually a pro in this situations, in this topic, and I really can't wait to hear from her from our next section. Thank you so much everyone for listening. Until I come your way again next time, I'm saying stay safe, stay blessed, and bye bye everyone.